everybody.
Hello.
Hello. How are you? Welcome. Come on in, Judge. Get over on this side. Speaker. Yeah.
Great.
Well, thanks for being here. Congressman Darin LaHood, want to welcome everybody to our Lincoln Day dinner, and I want to thank you for coming out today. As you know, we have a rich tradition of our Lincoln Day dinners here in Peoria and Tazewell. We combined them a couple years ago. Some of you know this. We had Governor Ron DeSantis last year. We had Vice President Pence the year before. Thrilled to have Speaker Mike Johnson here for our Lincoln Day dinner for 2024. The reason why he's here is the importance of the 17th Congressional District with Judge Joe McGraw, and obviously growing our majority and winning back more seats, both here in Illinois and across the country. And so there are a lot of places Speaker Mike Johnson could be tonight, and he's here in Peoria, Illinois, to highlight the 17th, but also to promote here what we have going in Illinois. And so Mike Johnson has been a tremendous speaker in my view, came in under very tough circumstances, not a job that he sought or wanted, but has come in and done a remarkable job. Every week gets stronger and better. And the traits I think about when I think about Mike Johnson: humility, integrity, hard work, smart, resilience. And he's the right person for the job. So I'm thrilled to have the 56th Speaker of the United States here in Peoria, Illinois. Mr. Speaker, welcome.
Thank you. Darin LaHood, Congressman LaHood is a great representative for this area. It's our great delight to be here in Peoria with my dear friend. And there's such a rich history and tradition here in this district, in this part of the state, and what it means to the Republican Party and all of that. And we got a sold-out crowd, I'm told, tonight. That's a great sign for us, 6 months out from a fateful election that many people believe may well be the most important election of the modern era. I think everything is at stake, and I think everybody around the country recognizes that. I was told when we landed here in Peoria and came to the event tonight that this is the 117th city that I've done events like this in 29 states in the last 6 months or so since I've been Speaker of the House. It's been a great delight to travel the country, and I'm telling you, no matter where we are, something is really happening out there in the grassroots and in the country. And whether we're on the East Coast, the West Coast, North or South, it's the same thing. People are just fed up. They're fed up with the way that public policy has gone under President Biden and the Democrats in charge of the Senate and what they've done to every metric of public policy. They're deeply concerned about the open border and the catastrophe that has been for the country. They're deeply concerned about the rising cost of living and rising crime and the weakness that we're projecting on the world stage. They're worried about the rise of anti-Semitism and the wokeism and all the rest of it, and they've had enough. And so there's a real energy out there in the base, and I believe they are going to give our party, the Republican Party, control again of the levers of power in Washington, because we've got to fix all these big problems. And we're going to be able to do that because we are going to not only win back the White House with President Trump and win the Senate. The Republicans will retake the Senate. That's what all the polling is showing. And we are going to keep and grow the House majority again. And one of the reasons we're going to be able to fix all these problems is because Darin and I and our colleagues have gone out and done a really good job, I think, of recruiting some extraordinary candidates to flip some of these seats from Democrat back to Republican. Judge Joe McGraw is one of those, a highly qualified candidate, one of the best that we've ever seen. He's been a guy who stood for law and order his whole career. He has acumen in all these areas. He's a professional. He's smart. He knows what he's doing, and he's going to come in on day one and help us to fix these problems. So we're so excited about his candidacy and so glad to be here in the district and in the area to help support that candidacy. And we've got many like him across the country, and that's the reason that we're going to turn this thing around. I'll just address this because I know you'll have a question, the verdict on Thursday against President Trump. People want to know, what effect is that going to have on the election? I can tell you in my travels over the last few days, I've been in the states of Ohio and Michigan, now in Illinois. Everywhere we've gone, this has turned up the enthusiasm for our Republican ticket. President Trump, as you saw, his campaign raised a record amount of money in the first 24 hours after the verdict was issued, over $58 million. We also had record fundraising day in the first 24 hours after that verdict, and it continues on all of our platforms for the House Republicans. We raise more money. You know why? Because people see lawfare in action. They see that the nominee for the Republican Party is being attacked and that they're using our judicial system to go after a political opponent. That's what the Democrat Party and that's what these rogue prosecutors have done. And I think people are disgusted by it. I think President Trump is not just our nominee, not just an individual running for president. I think now he's seen as a symbol of one who is willing to fight back against that corruption, the deep state, and all the rest. And that's a very powerful thing in an election year where we are deciding the future of the country. So we're excited. We're very bullish on November. We're going to win again the White House, the Senate, and the House, and we have a lot of things to fix. And so buckle your seatbelts. It'll be an exciting time.
Speaker, are you concerned at all about some of the polls, though, that show that people are influenced negatively by the verdict and might not vote for him?
There may be some that are, but I'll tell you, the polling that we're seeing, and I was sent just 2 hours ago, Trump campaign officials sent me some of the latest numbers they've seen. There was a dailymail.com poll today, for example, and they say that President Trump has seen a 6-point increase in his favorability numbers post-verdict. So I think that you'll be seeing that around the country. I'm telling you that that's what I'm seeing anecdotally as I'm out there with people out in the grassroots, out in these states in the Midwest. They're feeling that. They're disgusted by what they're seeing, and their support for President Trump has gone up. And look at the fundraising. We've had a record number of new donors come into the fold. These are low-dollar donors online, but a vast number of people who are giving for the first time because they're motivated. So I think this backfires fantastically on the Democrat Party.
Speaker, I wanted to ask a question about the 17th race itself on June 1st. What's the strategy? What's the plan to get the judge elected? Because I wanted to point out something on Open Secrets. He's being outspent and outraised right now. So what's the plan?
He is. It's not unusual for the Democrats to raise more money, but we spend it more efficiently and effectively, and we have much better candidates. Look, Eric Sorensen is in that seat. He's a new member of Congress, and he is a radical leftist. Look at his comments. Some of the things he said have made headlines, but I think a lot of the people in the 17th District of Illinois don't quite yet know who is representing them in Congress. I think that that'll come out here in the weeks ahead, and I think they're going to look for somebody who is a grown-up to represent them, somebody who has a great resume and will be a great leader, and I think will represent the real interest and the values of the people of the district. I really like this matchup, and I think a lot of our donors, the more they learn about the judge, I think he'll raise more and more money. That's what's necessary right now. We're raising record amounts, and we'll be spending it wisely in seats like this that we know that we can flip.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, welcome back to Illinois.
Thank
you. We're no stranger here to politicians being charged, going on trial. We have a speaker that's going to go on trial in the fall. Obviously, Governor Blagojevich. Both Democrats, when they were and currently, there were not Democrats, leading Democrats out there saying that those trials and charges were a sham or political. Are you concerned about some of the rhetoric we're seeing that could be undermining the Americans' faith in the justice system and the rule of law?
No, I love this question. I've been one of the main critics of what's happened there. I have a background in law. You know, Darin LaHood was a prosecutor for about a decade. I used to be an attorney in the courts. I was a constitutional law attorney. I litigated cases for 2 decades. What we're seeing right now outrages us because we see the politicization of our system of justice. We are the rule of law team, and it is appropriate for us to call out what is an abuse of the system. What alarms me is that the American people are seeing this as well. They're evaluating this the same way we are. And when you undermine the people's faith in our system of justice, the judge will tell you, you lose a very important element of what it is required to maintain a system like ours, a constitutional republic. This is no small thing. When people see with their own 2 eyes that there are 2 systems of justice, that one of the political parties will use the judicial system, the legal system, to do their political bidding and go after a political opponent, this is something you expect in a banana republic, in a third world country, not in the United States of America. And I'm telling you, I am deeply troubled with the people losing their faith in our institutions. And arguably the most important one we have in this country is our judicial system, our system of justice. And that's what's at stake, and that's why this is so disgusting. And I think that's why people share our outrage, and they're going to let their voices be heard. The main verdict, the number one verdict that really matters is on November 5th, and that's the verdict of the American people at the ballot.
Are you taking
Your
the Supreme
history of
Court?
education, including your time at Liberty University, if you were to characterize this moment in American history to your students, what would you say?
I would say, and I have said, that this is a fateful moment. I mean, we're at people call it something different. It's a pivotal moment. It's a crossroads. I have a good friend, a friend of ours, Dr. Oz Guinness, who's an author, a social scientist of sorts, and he calls this a civilizational moment. And historians make the observation that great societies have about an average lifespan of about 250 years. You know, we're going to be 248 years old on July 4th as a nation. If you're in high school, that sounds like an eternity, but we know that is not a long time on the span of human history. And we're at a moment where we have to decide whether we are going to hold fast to the foundational principles that made us the greatest nation in the history of the world, the most powerful, most free, most successful, most benevolent. It's not even close. Or if we're going to trade that in for something else. And I'm telling you, Darin will tell you, Congressman LaHood will tell you, we have colleagues who are being elected to Congress in the other party who have a totally different vision for the country than what has made us great. They have disdain for our founding principles. They're trying to dismantle them as we speak. They envision for America not to be a constitutional republic, but some sort of European-style socialist utopia or something. We understand that's a fool's errand. And so to preserve the republic and to save the greatest country in the history of the world, we have to get back to the defense of those foundations. That's what's at stake right now, and I think the American people understand that. Everybody may articulate it a little differently. We're apt to say the next election cycle is the most important one of our lifetime. Everybody knows this one truly is, and that's why there's such energy and enthusiasm in the Republican base right now.
Speaker, you've been talking in interviews about the bundle of bills and actions you're preparing for the possibility of, as you put it earlier, Republicans having their hands back on all the major levers of power.
Yes.
Would you tell me a little bit about the main priorities and what you plan to do when Trump is back in the White House? What are the top-of-bill actions that you plan on taking?
Well, there's a lot, and we have to be here for 90 minutes for me to unpack that. But I'll tell you the quick summary is our priorities are the priorities of the American people, and we cannot wait to be back in charge because we're going to look at the issues that concern the American people. They concern us as well. We're going to secure that border on day one, and it should have been done for the last 3.5 years, but President Biden opened it intentionally. We're going to reverse that. We're going to have an aggressive energy policy because energy security is national security, and President Biden did the opposite on that as well. He declared war on the oil and gas industry, for example. We're going to get right to the issue of the cost of living because we know that we can get the U.S. economy humming again if we do very simple things, if basically we do the opposite of what the Biden administration has done, and that is to reduce regulations and reduce taxes because that's what we did during the first Trump administration. And after the first 2 years, we had achieved the greatest economy in the history of the world, not just the U.S. Every demographic, every American were doing better, had more opportunity, more liberty, more security, because the policies that gave us that. We're gonna stamp out this anti-Semitism thing. We're gonna go against that cancel culture and the wokeness that has frustrated people so much. You're going to see America come back strong again, and we cannot wait for that to happen. There'll be unified government, I believe, that we'll have President Trump's strong leadership in the White House. You'll have strong Republican leadership, principled leadership, in the House and the Senate, and we're going to put it on turbo. The first 100 days agenda will be very aggressive to fix all these problems, and there are a lot of problems to fix. I told President Trump I think that he could be the most consequential president of the modern era, and I think he's anxious to have that opportunity, and I think he's going to get it.
Are you going to complain to the Supreme
One more?
Court?
Yep. What's it?
Complain to the Supreme Court about the verdict?
Am I going to? I'm sorry.
Complain to the Supreme Court about it?
Well, it's not my place to do so, but I have said that were I President Trump's attorney, I have been one of his attorneys before. I helped on the impeachment defense teams in the House twice. If it were up to me, I think I would make an appeal to the Supreme Court. If you look at Bush v. Gore, for example, one of the precedents from many years ago in the early 2000s, of course, the presidential election was imperiled, and the issue was such an important one, and the timing was so sensitive. The Supreme Court intervened and took control of that matter, and I think this one is of the same import. I think there are so many grounds for appeal. The judge could speak to this. Darin could. He's a former prosecutor. We are all attorneys. We know. This is the easiest appeal that I've ever seen, and I'm absolutely convinced it'll be overturned. The problem is it will take some time to do that, and because you have such a fateful national election in the intervening months, this is a real concern to the American people. So if it were me, I would at least request that of the Supreme Court, but I'm not making I'm not calling those shots. I got to take care of the House of Representatives, so we'll see. Thank you all for the time. We really appreciate it. Sure.